Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's the SMB Nation weekly webinar, and today we're here to talk about filling gaps in Office 365. We'll get to that in just a moment. Before we get started, as always, a little bit of housekeeping. If you could use the question feature over your control panel to ask your questions. We're going to have a couple of poll questions today, so if you could be so kind as to answer those as we go along. In terms of housekeeping, next week we have the cannabis technology for MSPs conversation. It's actually quite legit. It's quite interesting in terms of this emerging industry. 10 states legal, several more states medical, and it's a heck of an MSP opportunity, almost marrying the pharmaceutical industry. So that's next Wednesday as part of the MSP Tech Talk. Then we hop into the Labor Day weekend. And then I will see people, I'm going to GlueCon in Scottsdale and SolarWinds Empower in Scottsdale in the same week. So Kerry, I see you recognizing that. I'll be down there in Scottsdale. It's great. And then after that, folks got Spiceworks, Dreamforce, Ignite, and who knows what else will start to fill out the fall. But with that said, let's jump into the good stuff. Kerry, welcome aboard. Thank you for supporting SMB Nation. We're talking about filling gaps in Office 365 so MSPs can go make money. Microsoft can't do it all, of course.
That's right.
Kerry, why don't you take the talking stick, introduce yourself, and let's just jump right into it, and then I'll have a little fun along the way with you.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, so as Harry said, my name is Kerry Reber. I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager at SolarWinds, focused on the SolarWinds Backup product. And that makes sense. Backup is sort of in my blood. In past lives, I've been in marketing departments at both Veeam and Datto. So I learned a lot about backups and a lot about MSPs. And I'm happy to bring that knowledge now to SolarWinds. So we're talking today about some gaps that can exist in your data protection strategy. We know that everybody's got backup. They've probably got 6 or 7 backup products. It's not unusual to have multiple backup products in your portfolio, but not everyone may have thought about what you need to do when it comes to SaaS applications, specifically Office 365. And so to kind of get started, I wonder if we could do the poll and just find out how many in our audience here are actually already using Office 365 with their customers.
So folks, we have the poll open. The poll reads, are your customers currently using Office 365? It's a simple yes, no. If you join the webinar a little bit late, we have MSP Tech Talk coming up next week, a whole slew of shows lining up for September, October, and please use the question feature over in the control panel. Jenny, go ahead and close out the poll. And so we have 80%, 79% of the respondents, the MSP audience, saying yes, their customers are currently using Office 365. Boy, that's a big change from about 5 or 6 years ago. With
wow,
that said,
yeah.
let's turn it. Yeah, it really is, Kerry. I mean,
Yeah.
it just it's really become a category killer.
Yeah.
Kerry, if you want to take back control of the screen, and we'll see your deck.
Yeah.
There we are. Please continue.
Okay. Oh. All right. Let me move the little picture screen over so that it doesn't hide too many of the slides. All right. So hopefully you can see things now.
Yep, looks good. Looks very good.
All right. Great. Great. So the first question that comes to everyone's mind when they think about applications like Office 365 is, does it even need backing up? There's kind of a common misconception that if it's in the cloud, if Microsoft is taking care of it, everything's fine, you don't need any further protection. And unfortunately, that's not the case. So Microsoft does focus very much on availability of anything that's active. But when you think about data protection, there's kind of 2 parts to it. There's availability and recoverability. And Microsoft is focused on availability, and third-party tools like ours can help you with ensuring complete recoverability, because there are some gaps that can exist around deleted items in particular. You might have legal and compliance data retention requirements, And if something has gone out the recycle bin and is gone, you're stuck and you might have a real problem. Because a lot of people don't realize the recycle bin is where the emails go when they get deleted, and they sit there for a little while. The default that is set up when you get Office 365 is 14 days. The administrator can go in and change it to as much as 30 days. But even then, if something gets deleted and it gets to day 31 in the recycle bin, it is gone, and no one can get it back, not even Microsoft. And that's a vulnerability that a lot of people may not realize that they have. Is that something you've heard about before, Harry?
Well, certainly in this modern political environment I have, but let's not go there. That's specific.
Good idea.
I told you we'd have a little bit of fun, but specific to this conversation, that's absolutely right. And 99.9% of the time as a small business just doing your thing, probably don't notice, but there is going to be that one time, right, where you have compliance or legalities or what have you. So I have heard of it, and you're right, it's a gap.
Yeah, could definitely be a problem. So actually, we've got a little more we can talk about some of these specific use cases, because again, people might think, well, how often does that really happen? That isn't that big a problem. Well, what about malware and viruses? Those are everywhere. And if a virus or a piece of malware or ransomware actually deletes your emails and they go through the recycle bin and they're gone, they're gone. But if you have a backup, it's protected. And even if it's gotten deleted, you can still recover it. Microsoft may not be able to do it for you, but a third-party backup product can. Another thing that happens more often than people probably realize is accidental deletion. So as you probably know, a lot of Office 365 administrative tasks are done using PowerShell. And there is such a thing as human error. People can fat finger, they can mistype, and they can unintentionally perform a bulk change or deletion when they intended to just do one. And again, if it gets to day 31 in that recycle bin, it's gone, and it's really not Microsoft's problem at that point. Another retention gap that people sometimes have is when an employee leaves the company. They can leave on the best of terms, everything's fine, they resign or them go. Most companies don't want to keep paying a monthly subscription to keep an active mailbox for someone who no longer works there. But when you delete that mailbox, you lose all that history. And if you have some sort of legal reason why you need to pull it back, it's gone unless you have backup. Now, what Microsoft recommends as the workaround, go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't mind, on the employee resigns or is let go, is that a lot of our audience are Microsoft partners at the Action Pack level, where you get free instances of 365 E3. And but it's the same kind of thing. It's the same dynamic that you only get 5 free licenses, and so if an employee leaves and your company has grown to be successful to 6, 7, 8 employees, you're implicitly paying for that delta, right? That delta of 2 or 3 mailboxes. And so you would still have the same question as to why am I paying for that? And then along those lines, you can do email forwarding. So if Billy Bob leaves SMB Nation, we can forward it to Jennifer Hallmark. But as you're aware, that's only from a point in time forward, right? That's not taking Billy Bob's PST-based history to Jennifer Hallmark.
That's right. And Microsoft is aware of this issue, and so they do recommend that you share the mailbox before you delete it, and then it's still okay. But that's, again, dependent on human error not happening. The customer or the service provider has to know to do this. If someone decides to leave quickly and they forget that step, then it's gone.
Well, and sometimes they don't get to decide to leave quickly. Sometimes we make that decision for them. But
That's right. No matter how it happens. I can certainly see it happening. Either way. So there's there's a workaround, but it's dependent on a lot of things aligning just perfectly in order for the workaround to work. Then there's the fun one, intentional deletion. So this could happen, of course, for a lot of reasons. Maybe someone gets angry. Maybe they feel like they've been mistreated by the company and they decide to get back at them by deleting a bunch of stuff. Or maybe an employee's doing something that they know is illegal or unethical and they're trying to hide their tracks by deleting their emails. If you don't catch it and it goes out of the recycle bin, they have gotten away with it and it is gone. And that's not a good scenario. if they're not so nefarious, there's also the case of the really efficient person who is really into having a clean mailbox. And maybe a project gets canceled, for example, and they go through and delete all the emails related to that. And then suddenly it gets funding and it's alive again. They might wish they had that stuff. And if they haven't got a backup and it's been more than 30 days, it is gone. And it's not Microsoft's problem. It's really Office 365. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just, because Microsoft and Office 365 doesn't have any way of knowing why a deletion happened. They don't know. There's no way for them to know if it was accidental, malicious, what caused it. They just know that it was deleted, and they assume that you want it to be gone, and they make it gone. Oh, give it a second.
So I'm going to go back to the dark side, and if there were deletions of email, again, whether malicious, intentional, or whatever, and there's discovery in court proceedings, there's no magical tool to recover these emails, right? You don't just wave a magic wand. The courts are going to be relying on a backup solution such as yours, which is, I know we're getting to it, but well, here we go, legal hold. But there's no magic wand. That's right. Okay, go on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's a situation where if you have not been protecting your data and keeping it retained as you're supposed to, you might be really sorry, because big fines and penalties can result if you get a court order to hold data and it's already gone, or if it gets deleted during that time, you're in even more trouble. And again, Microsoft does provide for this. They have a highest tier of Office 365 product that includes some of this data protection and legal hold. But even there, if you delete a user account without sharing it, it's gone. So there's even some small gaps in that. And, you've kind of got a financial choice of which level do you want to go to and how much do you want to spend, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So this might be a good time to do the second poll question. We've heard at the beginning how many are currently using Office 365, and now that we've scared you about all the possible things that can go wrong, how many of you are planning to use it?
There we go. So the question is, do you expect to be moving your customers to Office 365 in the next 12 months? Folks, while you're taking just a second to answer that, if you came in late, feel free to use the questions feature in your control panel to ask your questions. I see we have one lined up. And so please feel free to do that. And just a shout out to the SolarWinds Empower Conference. I believe it's September 18th and 19th, 17th and 18th. It's just after mid-September in Scottsdale, Arizona. Maybe, Kerry, maybe you can bail me out on those dates. I think it's 18, 19.
Yeah. You know what? I've got my travel planned, and I'm going to have to look at my calendar to know. But yeah, it's coming up soon, and I'm going to be there, and we're actually doing a breakout session on this very thing, which will be great. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's on the 18th and 19th. Yeah, 18th and 19th.
So, Kerry, 18th and 19th. Jenny, go ahead and close out the poll. And Kerry, I have a question for you. And the results, by the way, are, before we get to the question, the results were in the affirmative, 2/3 in the affirmative, that you will be moving customers to 365. No surprise there. So that's great.
Not a big surprise.
Kerry, how would you like to handle questions? We have a question from a gentleman named Barry. So we have Harry, Kerry, and Barry. Would you like questions interactively, or would you like to queue them up?
Let's queue them up, just because some of the things I'm about to cover might answer some of those questions. And if not, then we can get right to it next.
All right, Barry.
So now that we've talked about, it'll just be a minute. I don't have too many more slides. I'm not killing you with a million slides here today. So now we've talked about, all the gaps and potential that can be there. Let's talk about what we have to offer to help you with that. And that is, we've had for some time a product called SolarWinds Backup, which is, of course, I like it naturally. It's a cloud-first service, which does not require any kind of local appliance. It takes your backups directly to our private locations around the world. And it was built for simplicity and ease of use. You've got everything all in one console for at-a-glance management and multi-tenant management. It was designed for all of these things. And of course, it's very well suited to managed service providers. It's also used sometimes by in-house people, but it's great for both. It's a nice, lightweight, easy to use backup solution. And now with this new functionality that we've just introduced. It also supports Office 365. So now from a single console, you can protect both physical and virtual servers, your workstations, documents, and now Office 365 Exchange data, which is kind of convenient. And here's what it looks like. This is just a screenshot of our console, and you can see at a glance right away, you can see what's been backed up, what's protected, what has had a failed backup that you might want to check on. And now it just becomes another data source. So you have servers, workstations, documents, and Office 365 as types of data. And one thing that is worth noting, this is a 1.0 brand new product. So right now it only covers Exchange services, which is email, calendars, contacts, and tasks. We do have on our development roadmap to include SharePoint and OneDrive, but they're not there right now. And partly because of that, we have a really great price of $1.50 per month per mailbox. If you shop around and look at others in the industry, this is quite a bit low. Most of them. There is one other product that is comparable to this price, but not a cloud-based product. It is a software-only solution where you have to either pay a cloud provider separately or use your own local storage hardware. So you have to think about those costs on top of the price. And in our case, that cloud storage is included. And it looks just like what you're seeing here.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
Yeah.
$1.50 a month. Okie dokie.
Yeah, per month per mailbox. Not bad, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty inexpensive. And just so people are aware, if they're not aware, you can also, if you want to use our product only for Office 365, you can do that, and you just pay that $1.50 a month. If you also want to use it for servers, they are $50 a month. Workstations are $10 a month, and documents, which is another way to protect the documents on your workstation if you don't care about operating system and those kind of things, that's only $1 per month. So you can choose any combination of those, any one or all of them, and just pay for what you're using.
Okay.
So this is just a quick look at the different Microsoft pricing options and what's included where. So, you mentioned E3 a minute ago, and after they've used up their free seats that some of your community members have, then it's, the list price is $20 per user per month. And the main difference there, yes, you get some software, and there's some other reasons you might want that, but if your concern is about data protection and compliance, such as legal hold, it's a whole lot cheaper to buy E1 at $8 a month, add our $1.50 backup product onto it, and now for $9.50, you've got data protection. So that's a nice little cost savings. If you're using it for your own use,
No, I would agree with that. I never liked E5. It just, that's expensive. Just having a conversation with you, but E3, I like the functionality. Now, again, we're spoiled as SMB Nation members who are primarily Microsoft Action Pack partners. We are used to E3. And
so it might be hard to give that up.
Yeah, and then there is a place for the lower level 365 SKUs. So, for example, if you're running a campaign with callers, you can burst up to have email availability to your call center, right? And again, this is typically a mini call center, right? If you can imagine desk kind of being set up down in the SMB space, but you can burst up at, for example, $8 a month for the campaign, and then burst right back down once it's over. So, but you raise a valid point about getting the data protection, not having to overpay for 3 or 5.
Right.
I like
exactly. Yes, exactly. And it's a great way, if you're a managed service provider, to add some value to O365 and still have a very active role to play for your customers, because maybe in the past they've relied on their service provider to manage Exchange servers locally, and now they're going to the cloud. But, this is a great way for the service provider to still be there, because, we know human nature, right? Even if they switch to Office 365, if something gets accidentally deleted and they suddenly realize they need it and they're in a panic, they're going to call their service provider, and they're going to expect to be bailed out. So by having this in place, they'll be ready to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're pretty low price.
Cool.
Yeah. But wait, there's more. I feel like a commercial on TV now, right? So our list price, $1.50 per month, but just like Microsoft, we have a special offer. This is good. So right now the product is in what we're calling the early access period. It is not officially GA until October 1st. And so if people want to start using it now, they can. They can use it for free for the next 40 days or so until October 1st when billing begins. And that will qualify them to get it not only right then, but also future purchases for $1 per mailbox instead of $1.50. So these are small numbers, but it's a nice, about a 1/3 off. So that's worth doing. And if people want to sign up for that, they sign up with the link, the URL that's here on the screen, and just sign up, start a free trial, and then October 1st, when billing begins, they get billed for less.
And we'll Kerry, we'll get that link out to them in the thank you email post-webinar to everybody. Okay, cool.
Great. So questions, what have we got?
Okay. So let me go back over here. We have one. Folks, if you have questions, now would be the time to queue them up. I have a question from Barry Green, and it goes back to your earlier slides about sort of the efficiency of having mailboxes, turning off mailboxes, saving money. And he says, why not turn it into a shared mailbox, which is free? You had a slide that spoke towards shared mailboxes. Maybe if you want to reiterate that.
Yeah, and you can certainly do that. And that is another way around this. The only thing that I was pointing out is that is reliant upon either the service provider or the customer doing this in advance, remembering to do it, knowing about it, and not just deleting that email account without doing that. So you're right, that is another method, but it's another thing that's potentially subject to human error.
A question I have is just to kind of put this in perspective, because SolarWinds is all in with SMB Nation. So Mail Assure is a distinctly different motion from what we're talking about today with backup, right? So Mail Assure would be more of the security protection, but I'm assuming there's a handshake there.
Yeah, I mean, they do complement each other, and it just really depends on what the customer's main concerns are. So if the customer wants things like spam prevention, availability, archiving, there is some of that from Mail Assure, but it's strictly for mail. If they are concerned about all of Office 365, as I mentioned, right now we just cover Exchange services, but we do have on our roadmap that it's going to eventually protect OneDrive and SharePoint. And so that will be a different scenario. We don't protect, so backup doesn't protect you from viruses. Mail Assure helps with that. So they do kind of complement each other.
Right, exactly. And then another comment I have, folks, and by the way, if we have more questions, go ahead and queue them up. Another comment I have, and Kerry, you and I believe talked about this previously, but the Gapfiller role. And so let's put this all in perspective. So SolarWinds as an ISV has come to market with a solution to fill a gap in Microsoft Office 365. And my experience with Microsoft is if you're not $1 billion product, you don't get the love, or at least 100 million, right? I mean, there's these gaps in the Microsoft portfolio that I like to say that they can't afford to fill, right? That they're just too big, and you're not going to get the love. We'll just downgrade it to 100 million in revenue, but you're not going to get the love below that. And so this creates an opportunity for SolarWinds. It creates an opportunity for our MSPs to take this tool and fill that gap. So they're in effect acting as a gap filler. And then I would also say there's just interesting creative ideas, and this beyond the scope of this webinar, but guys, there's gaps, right? And we identified one today in backup, and that's being filled with this product. But there are gaps in the Microsoft portfolio that you can make a handsome. A guy once told me, who was one of the principals behind SNA server in the 90s and 2000s, the mainframe connectivity tool for NT server. And he said there are plenty of gap fillers in the $10 to $15 million a year range in revenue, right? That you can create a real business just doing what Microsoft doesn't.
Yeah, I heard an analogy once that I think is very apt. They said Microsoft is building the highway system, but they rely on the ecosystem of partner vendors to fill in the potholes. And I kind of like that way of thinking about it. They build the highway, we fill in the potholes.
That's a good way to look at it. Well, I'll tell you, the last time I saw this gentleman, and then maybe we'll call it a wrap for today, but the gentleman who spoke towards the Gapfiller scenario, he cashed out, and he was sailing off in a Puget Sound in a sailboat playing his guitar, and that's the last time I saw him. And he had been acquired by Microsoft, and I was like, I want to be you. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's a pretty happy ending. Oh, you know what?
There you
two
have
questions
it.
that I often get asked, and I don't know if we saw them here today, but I'm not sure I really emphasize these points. So one question we sometimes get is how often can the backups of Office 365 take place? And the answer to that is as much as every 2 hours if you want it to. And the other big question is how long do we retain the deleted items? And the answer to that is 7 years. So if I didn't hit on those points, there they are.
Okay. Oh, there are more questions. Jenny, thank you for the side note. Yeah, for some reason my browser, my control panel is acting up. So let's do it. Barry Green says it was more of a suggestion. Thank you, Barry. Okay, so Blair asked or comments, MS prices are end user at $1.50. Is that mailbox end user pricing? Blair, maybe if you could clarify. I wonder if Blair is asking.
I think I know what he means.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what he means is whose pricing is that? That is our pricing to our MSP partners, and then they can price it however they want to. And that's kind of part of the beauty of it. If you're selling an Office 365 service, including data protection to your customers, and you're paying a total of $950 versus a total of $20, you have a lot more flexibility in how you price it to your customers and what your margins are in between there.
Okay, great. Boy, we do have several questions. So Mike asked, does the SolarWinds backup also work with hosted Exchange? He goes on to say, we have a number of customers who do not use Office 365, but do use third-party Exchange services in the cloud, hosted environment. Could your solution also work with on-prem Exchange? So hosted, on-prem, what's your answer?
Hosted, I'm not completely sure about. I don't think anyone's asked that before. But on-prem, yes, definitely, because we do protect servers, like I said, either physical or virtual servers. We protect workstations, documents, and Office 365. And that's where it's so nice to have it all in one console, because if you have different customers using different types of Exchange, you can see their backups all on one screen.
Okay, cool. We have Barry Green is back. Barry, he says, hi. Any idea when this will be available in the RMM bound product? So I guess Barry might be asking about
the integrated version.
Solution.
Yeah, that's
solution.
Yeah, that's. I know exactly what that is. So we also, as a company at SolarWinds, we have a couple of RM products. We have N-Central and RMM, and there are integrated versions of backup that work through those consoles. At the moment in 1.0, as we said, it's not available yet in the integrated versions, but it's definitely in development. Unfortunately, I can't give you a date. I wish I could, but I guess I would just say it is on the dev roadmap. We are planning to do it, and stay tuned for more info.
Okay, and then, longtime friend of the family, Don Elam. Don, good afternoon. He has a couple of comments. So do you have to be, I'm assuming he's saying, do you have to be a SolarWinds MSP customer to get the Office 365 backup? Don, I believe that's what you're saying. So do you have to be an MSP's customer to use your backup?
No, not at all. So we're selling to MSPs, and this can be the first product that they ever buy from us. That's totally fine. There's no pre-requirement to buy any other products.
Then Don goes on to say, also, I've had 2 occurrences where the Outlook contact corruption was not discovered for over a month. Can restores go back to a point in time and be restored to the PST file? So Outlook contacts you discover after a month there's corruption. We're using your tool. Can we restore?
You can restore. Now, whether it's to the PST file, I apologize, I don't know. That's the downside of having a marketing person on this event. But I will take that as a follow-up item, and we can certainly get back to you individually with an answer on that.
Okay. We have a gentleman named Harry McFadden. He asked, what type of information do you have to incorporate this into a marketing campaign? So marketing collateral, marketing message for the MSP. That is a good question.
Yeah, that stuff is in the works because right now we're talking about the early access period. And right now, like I say, it's kind of an extended free trial and billing doesn't start until October. But at that point, we're going to definitely have something. In fact, we're going to be at the Microsoft Ignite conference in late September. And if you're coming to our Empower conference, we'll have more information there as well. As far as a thing you can hand to your customers to market this, those are in the works right now, but we'll definitely have them in October when the product is generally available.
Cool. Barry's back, Barry Green. Can you attach backup to just a specific mailbox, or do you have to put all mailboxes in the domain? In the domain?
No, unfortunately, it's all or nothing right now. It's the whole domain. And if you think about the reasons why people are doing this, part of it is for that regulatory compliance and data retention. And, you know, if you were to get a legal hold that says you have to tell us that you've got all of your data and you've been able to pick and choose and pick some mailboxes and not others, then you've kind of defeated that purpose. And that's part of the thinking behind it.
Okay. Blair's back. Blair asked, will this offering work for Exchange Plan 1? Exchange Plan 1.
Meaning the Office 365 E1?
Yeah, E1. Yep.
I believe so, but that's another one I'll have to get back to confirm. I believe it works with any and all versions of Office 365 Exchange, but I can confirm that one.
George asked how much storage is given with the Office $1.50 offering. So your $1.50 offering, how much storage?
That's the good news. It's unlimited. There's no limit on it. Because again, we're keeping deleted items, and so that in itself is efficient. And we have a number of really good efficiency capabilities within our product. There's a group we call True Delta, which is a combination of compression, deduplication, and WAN optimization that really shrinks down the amount of data that's being kept to a point where we can afford to offer it pretty reasonably.
Okay. George also asked, maybe tell us more about the server offering. What about the server offering in terms of the storage limitations?
And maybe that one that we have, yeah, you know, that's a little longer conversation. We do have a fair use policy of how many terabytes come with each server. And I apologize, I don't have that at the tip of my tongue. But, you know, please ping us for more information. We'll be sending out a follow-up after this. And if you're interested in some more of that detail, feel free to just reply, or, you know, we can get back to you individually.
Yep. Tom Harper, longtime SMB Nation member, asked, do these backups meet compliance requirements for archiving?
It depends on what they are, but yes. So we store them in our private cloud. It's not going to a public cloud. It's going to our cloud. And if you look on our website, you can see a chart that shows the various locations. We keep the data in country. If you're a Canadian, we keep it in Canada. If you're American, we keep it in the US. You know, we keep it in the EU, various things like that. And our data centers are ISO certified. And so it gives you, you know, some good reliance there that we're helping meet compliance.
Okay, here's the softball from George. Can you show the $1 link again on the slide?
Oh, certainly. That's an easy one. We can go right back to that. There it is.
There we go. Why don't we leave that up?
HTTPS pages. Yep.
Barry Green did a little research. He's saying it's the storage numbers that we were looking for were 500 gig on servers and 100 gig on workstations under fair use policy. Thank you, Barry, for doing some research.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. If I weren't on the screen, I could have done that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then Barry also asked, any idea if I start using the product now, will I be able to convert to the RMM version when it is available without losing historical data?
I asked that very question this morning of our dev team, and they told me yes. We can't say much yet about how it will work or how long it will take, but yes, there's no reason why we could not do that. And I think that's going to be a common requirement a lot of people will have.
There we go. So, folks, uh, excuse me, last call for questions. Kerry, I'll tell you, the reason I have a slight cough is out here in Seattle, we have very unhealthy air with the Canadian fires.
Yeah. I've been hearing about that. That's awful.
Let's see if I can, I don't know if I can, trust me, I don't know if the camera's doing a great job of showing cloudy gray skies that are not clouds. But,
sounds awful.
Yeah,
well, it's a beautiful day here in Boston, so sorry. Come to Boston. Yeah. It's very lovely here.
There you go. Okay, well, Kerry, I think we cleared the deck. I'm in a better view of all the questions. I think we cleared the deck. Folks, we have the link up. We're going to send you that link. And Kerry, thanks for being a supporter of SMB Nation and helping us do good work, and being being a gap filler out of the 365 world and helping our MSPs be gap fillers. Folks, next week,
thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Folks, just again, next week is the cannabis, both medical, recreational technology conversation on Wednesday with MSP Tech Talk. And then a couple shows coming up: GlueCon, SolarWinds Empower, SpiceWorks, Ignite, Dreamforce. And that's all I can remember at this point, Kerry.
Got a lot going on.
We'll see you there. All right. Jenny, thanks so much for taking control in the control room as usual. Folks, have a great day.
Thank you.